I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi-kun wasn't a dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Iri and I acted normally around him because we knew that's how mature people should act. We welcomed him back, as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Satoshi-kun. 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you. And Satoshi-kun pouted as he mumbled. I felt tears pouring down my face. Oh.
Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun.
The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon, it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. A dream is a dream. I wished I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. We live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, because I felt like Satoshi-kun was right beside me.
Satoshi-kun? 帰ってきてくれたんだ。
There was no reply. That was the room. If it was Satoshi-kun, I wish he'd smiled at me just once. But Satoshi-kun's presence faded away, as if he were never there to begin with. I heard a phone ring by the front door. Ah, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. I probably didn't have to answer it actually, but I was still half asleep and all I could think of was answering the phone.
はい、園崎です。
朝早くにすみませんな。君吉でございます。
Oh, Kimiyoshi.
おばあちゃんまだお休みですかな?
I actually was thinking that maybe it's actually going to be Irena just calling Mion, and actually I was going to be Shion who is responding. And we do remember that at some point in chapter 2, Mion was running fast to the meeting to meet with Irena and Keiichi for school. Mostly because he was running late and all that. And here we do know that Shion had quite a busy night, and she might have overslept, and thus Rena would come in to call Mion maybe? I don't know. It was Uncle Kimiyoshi.
はい。昨日のが答えたみたいです。しばらく寝かせておこうと思います。
そうだね。無理に起こしちゃ悪いな。ミオンちゃんもこれから学校だよね。じゃあ枕元に伝言を置いといてもらってもいいかな。
Alright, sure thing, Kiichiro.
わかりました。何と伝言しましょう。
ね、昨日の件で緊急に役員会を開くことになったんだけど、それをね、今日の夕方の5時から神社の集会所でって伝えてもらえる?
Alright.
わかりました。伝えておきます。
The same emergency meeting. As soon as I put the phone down, it rang again. Oh, okay, now this could be Rena.
はい、園崎です。
早朝から申し訳ありません。
Kasai?
葛西と申しますが、ミオンさんですか？おは
葛西さんですか？おはようございます。
シオンさんはまだそちらにいらっしゃいますか？
Yeah, we're gonna, I'm gonna bring her, right now. She's just waking up right now. Give me a second. Hi, Kasai. I could tell him no. Or I could play both Mion and Shion.
シオンはさっき顔を洗ってました。呼んできますね。
Wait a couple of seconds. I decided to play two parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again.
葛西、おはようです。
おはようございます、シオンさん。今日は登校されますか？
するわけないです。たるいし。
まあそんなとこだとは。それでシオンさん、沖宮へ帰る足はありますか？
I mean, we're having a school festival anyway, so why should I go?
若いのに迎えに行かせますが。
君吉のおじいちゃんとかそのあたりに送ってもらおうかなと思ってます。私のことは放っておいてくれて OK です。
親父さんから出席日数だけは守らせるように厳命を受けていますので、私の小指のためにもご協力をいただきたいもんです。
まあ気が向いたら努力します。それより葛西、聞いてる？
聞いてるとは？
昨日のあれ。
一応は恐ろしい話です。
これまでのたたりの犠牲者はさ、みんなダム戦争の時の戦犯だったわけじゃない？それが今年はちょいと路線が違う感じですよね。どう思う？
さあ、私の預かり知るところの話ではありません。
Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
夕べの犠牲者の2人がどうしてお社様のたたりを受けたか知ってる？
いいえ。
実は夕べちょっと聞いた話だと、なんか綿流しの最中に最後殿にこっそり忍び込んだらしいよ。鍵を針金か何かで開けて。
Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims just for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic.
そうですか。バカなことを。
That's the second time that we hear that kind of response. Well, of course, that's so stupid of them. First is Mion and now Kasai.
まあ富武さんもそのあたりには疎いよそ者だったってことだね。
I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai then wondered why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said.
でさ、葛西、実はさ、私もなんだけど。
入ったんですか？西宮殿に？シオンさんが？
高野さんに一緒にどうって誘われてさ、高野さんと富武さん、そして私と、ほら前原屋敷に引っ越してきた圭一って男の子と一緒に4人で。
I heard Kasai sighing heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell that he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before.
シオンさん、去年ああいう一件があったばっかりなんですよ。今度はどうけじめをつけられるおつもりですか？
去年が爪3枚だったから奮発して5枚くらい言っとく？
へえ。
あ、ごめん。でもふざけてるわけじゃないんだよ。そりゃ私だってやばいとこだって認識はあったよ。少しは。 でもさ、そこまでやばいことなわけ？
I mean, my god, imagine. We do know that Oreo is dead, and Mion is in prison right now. But I guess in order to keep up with the illusion of Oreo still being alive and Mion, you know, still being free and all that, are we gonna have to force ourselves to, like, take off some of our nails as punishment?
シオンさんは仮にも園崎本家に縁ある方です。今さらそんなこと言ってまかり通ると思いますか？
っていうか、だって私ずっと沖宮。ばあさんに嫌われて以降、ひなみ沢にはほとんど近づいてもいない。その上、学園に閉じ込められて過ごしてたんですよ。そんなの私が知るはずないじゃない。
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be useless.
シオンさん、私はあなたの味方のつもりです。極力シオンさんを信じてあげたいと思っています。ですが、いくら私でもかばいきれないことがあります。
Dangers? Like what?
第一、
ごめん。お姉が来たから切ります。じゃね。
Ah, god damn it. Shion, why? What kind of dangers? What does he know? He knows it is bad to go into the ritual storehouse, but how bad? I interrupted Kasai and hung up. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me. He who had been my ally all my life.
チェ、参ったなあ。
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made me feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. The frickin' cicadas. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter, but I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was that Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to that cheap one. I don't know. But then again, there's this new detail that we got, this small detail that there wasn't a lot of dust inside the ritual storehouse. So somebody is keeping like the inside of the storehouse like clean. So it makes me think that it's Rika. Therefore, I guess it makes sense for Rika to just, oh, like she'd have to constantly like get rid of the heavy lock each time she opens it and then puts it back and closes it. It would be too much. So I guess a smaller lock would make the job easier for her to do her duties inside the storehouse of cleaning the statue and all that. But still, that was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. I slapped my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could just cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. I'd walked on the fence around the swings at the park before, as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun because even if I fell, it was only a very short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. At that very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence of the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. I couldn't step back, because there was nothing behind me. That was, in short, the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took one other step, I'd fall if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. Kind of makes me think of the imagery of having like a huge tightrope between like two buildings. Like huge, like 50-floor sized buildings that you would see in America or something like that. And you have to walk in between buildings on a tightrope. I couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I would find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. Staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I try to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I'd struggle as much as possible. I'd already killed a hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead.
死人がなおもあがこうとしたら、そりゃ特攻あるのみでしょ。
Yes, indeed. You go, Queen. Go on that murderer's path. You know, I cannot say that I like this trend of following protagonists that are murderers. It happened twice in this. I clenched my fist tightly as I murdered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi-kun. Who did it, for what purpose, and why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I'd carry out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I have to say is that she hadn't been feeling well since Watanagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Okay? Just in case our friends at school became suspicious. Maybe I'll start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my lack of sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I already told Kasai that I snuck into the shrine storage, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away, due to the curse of Oyashiro-sama. The last person I have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Maibara. Maybe I can use him as a bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan. You're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad, since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked out. It was almost time to leave the house. Hey, Anna. And what a lovely sight to see. That calms me a little bit. Yeah, this is exactly what I was describing before. Like the moment where we would run like real quick because we were running late.
待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
Alright. Well, you know what? It does seem that indeed we're following the path of chapter 2 and all that. And, you know, like in the meantime, I was thinking about the cicadas, since the story mentioned the cicadas in that one point, like a couple of minutes ago. It made me think back on my theories that I had previously about how these murders are happening or what is going on and all that. And you remember how I was talking about like the imperceptible way that a person is affected, either through visuals or through like sounds, like the cicadas and all that, all those crazy theories and all that. But you know what? Let's dial it down a little bit right over here. Let me talk about this. So, yeah, with that being said, grab your snackies, grab some comfortable blankies, like around the around the campfire, because it's time for me to talk about this. you know, like I brought up the topic of how this was all done, like, as I said, visual or the cicadas and all that. But up until now, there is no evidence for that. And you know, there is this golden rule when it comes to murder mysteries and solving cases and such, and that is, well, to have evidence. And, you know, we are way past like the question marks right over here, so you would think that if there was evidence for you to solve the mystery, especially about the quote-unquote murder weapon, you would have seen it in like the first, like the question marks. But visual-wise, hearing-wise, cicadas, subtle imagery, we haven't seen anything like that. So let's just go for the simple evidence that we have found in the question marks, which is the syringe. You know, the reason why I came up with the cicadas thing and like the visual is because apparently the police have found nothing in Tomitake's body that can make them deduce that there was like a drug or something that would make them like come to the conclusion, oh, it's this is what affected them. So I was thinking that maybe it was something imperceptible. Maybe somebody like, say, Takano did like hit Tomitake with some drug that made him go bonkers and all that. Why is it that the police did not find like any evidence that he was stabbed with like a syringe and all that? Thinking more about it, I think it actually makes sense. Because Tomitake clawed his throat at that point. When you claw your throat, you kind of get rid of the spot where you got shot with like the syringe. The police couldn't tell that Tomitake was shot in the neck with the syringe because it was clawed away. Now, when it comes to the drug itself, why they couldn't detect it, fuck if I know. I'm no chemist. I wouldn't be able to explain it. Maybe there is some substance that would just go away with time, and by the time that the police discovered Tomitake's body and checked, like, with the forensics and all that, the drug is already gone from the system. It could be that or they didn't have the technology to detect the kind of substance that was inside the Tomitake's body. Maybe it was like a foreign substance that they couldn't pick up. It is the 1980s after all. I don't know. Fuck if I know. I am no chemist. I am a self-proclaimed detective. Which means, like, a detective but with no qualification or degree in criminology. It's basically like self-proclaimed detective. That means that I have at least one title of fake it till you make it in, in crime studies. But, yeah. With that being said, like, it kind of makes me think that Takano did it. Like, okay, let's just go back through the events and let me think of this particular sequence of events. Like, after the Watanagashi, after they went inside the ritual storehouse and exited the storehouse, Takano and Tomitake, I don't know, they just went to the hospital. Takano, because remember, Takano, she's also like a nurse at EVA clinic. She would know about substances and drugs and all that, so she would bring Tomitake in at the clinic. She would grab like the drug from inside the clinic. She would stab Tomitake like in the neck, which would also make him fall asleep, I guess. And we also do remember that in chapter 3, we saw Takano with her car and Tomitake's bicycle like in the back. So it kind of makes me think that maybe Tomitake's body was inside like the trunk when Keiichi met the Takano like in the middle of the road. So it kind of makes you think that, okay, Takano stabbed Tomitake like in the neck at the hospital, and then she put the body inside the trunk of the car and she drove all the way to where Tomitake's body was found. Except at that point, she would throw the body right over there, she would drive away, Tomitake would just like wake up, and then like the effects of that drug would start to take effect. And he would go completely bonkers. He would see demons. He would just grab like the random like a wood that we found near his body. He would fling it away, clawing at his neck, and then he would die. That could be the sequence of events when it comes to Tomitake's death and all that. Again, motive for why Takano did this in the first place. Fuck if I know. I have no idea.
あれ、ミオン。
Hey, Keiichi. Evolved Keiichi.
お前、顔が赤くないか？息も妙に荒いし。
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Rena put her hand on my forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。そんな大したことないよ。
Oh, okay. Let me continue when it comes to the drug thing. Now does this mean that Takano is also responsible for like the events of previous years? That she would just start striking the victims with the syringes of that drug that would intensify the quote unquote curse inside of them? Because I still do believe that there is this thing inside people's bodies, like for example Keiichi or Satoko and all that have had it for years, and Rena too. It's just that maybe the drug intensifies that. It makes them go even more bonkers when it comes to that. It's not necessarily that the drug is what causes this. Or maybe, maybe there's that other theory that throughout the years, since Irie is a doctor at a clinic, people visit him since he's like one of the very few doctors of Hinamizawa. He would visit him, and then Irie would just start putting the drug inside of them without their knowledge throughout the years. And I don't know, with that, it goes back to the theory that the government is doing research on the kinds of drugs, so they have the people in Hinamizawa be like test labs, test rats, like lab rats, for the government's experimenting and all that to create like a biological weapon that would make them win battles, wars and all that, have like an advantage against their enemies. So they're creating this biological weapon, and they're using the people in Hinamizawa as lab rats throughout the years to test things. And when things go bonkers, like for example Keiichi, the people from the government in suits and the doctor would just come in and just try to capture Keiichi. Maybe something like that happened with Satoshi as well. So I don't know, maybe the thing with Takano this year was like an isolated case where it wasn't necessarily that Takano was doing research and she was inserting like this drug on enemies, not enemies, but people in Hinamizawa imperceptibly. But this time she used it as a weapon to kill Tomitake. She overdosed Tomitake with that drug or what the fuck they are using. So I don't know.
半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
I'd always thought he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought they would tease me, but they didn't.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよ。って言いながら。時間！
走らないと間に合わない。スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。走ろう。
Alright, let's go.
それでは委員長、号令。あ、起立！気をつけ！
I made the same mistake before. I never learn, do I?
みーちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな？今日は具合悪そう。あら、そうなんですの。それはよくありませんわね。
It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things differently from Mion, I had an excuse.
まあ、あれだ。女の子には体調が悪くなる日もあるってことだな。
僕にはそんな日はないのですよ。ミパー。
Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Maibara. He might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. It would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. That is a good analogy. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. I had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. Unless you're Rena, in like the first chapter, like looking at Keiichi, like through the door, like spying on him. Spying on him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realized how serious a crime it was to step into the virtual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the three families would know about the incident from last night. But Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. That should make him aware of his surroundings. And maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was sleepy too. I had to be alert, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I've been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。
Ah yeah, we have this. Actually, no. Scratch that. I was actually thinking of the like chapter 3 moment. Like, it was like after Watanagashi when Keiichi did the deed, and then the next day, Shion would ask Keiichi, do you know something about what happened last, yesterday? And Keiichi's like, I don't know. But no, I think this is different.
表の方が気分いいもんね。
あ、ミヨンか。授業、サボるなよな。
It looked like it felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I mean, it's summer. I mean, Jesus. I washed my face too. But it didn't feel as good as it looked.
ミヨン、風邪の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、風邪薬の副作用なんだろ？
ん？あはは。実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。それで、エンドレスに。
I pretended to drink with an invisible glass.
徹夜明けかよ！心配して損した。
Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried.
じゃあな、俺は教室に戻るぜ。帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして、そこや用水路に落ちるなよ。
Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom.
あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around.
なんだ？
変なことを聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
そりゃ内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. Okay, I'm getting distracted by Keiichi's hand there. Is it just me, or his left hand feels a bit, looks a bit odd? he was frightened that Mion Sonosaki might know about it. I guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of Mion Sonosaki.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
I could clearly see how dismayed Keiji felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse.
さあ、どうかな。あったような、合わなかったような。
He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. Okay, well, can you tell us where you've seen them? Like after the ritual storehouse, that is. Did they tell you where they went? Well, obviously they wouldn't tell you where they went. If Takano went to the clinic or somewhere to do the deed, they wouldn't tell. But maybe you've seen them somewhere? Well, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. Like, the thing is, like, after the ritual storehouse entrance in Chapter 2, he hasn't done, like, anything else. Like, on Chapter 3, however, Keiichi did see Takano with her car, like, going from somewhere, which, if this was something that would have happened, like, right here, like Keiichi would tell Mion right over here, which will be Shion, would tell them about seeing Takano riding a car, that would give Shion a clue, maybe, I don't know. Now granted, Keiichi would not tell because Takano did tell Keiichi, you and me were gonna keep this hush-hush, otherwise bad things are gonna happen. So I don't know if Keiichi would even tell us. And it's not like it happened, like, anyway. Although imagine a scenario where we would combine Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 events. Like, this would be, like, in this same chapter where the events of Chapter 2 would happen, like, again. But not only that, but Keiichi himself would also go along with the murder? Nah, I don't think that would be the case, because if he was thinking of murdering Teppei, he wouldn't have gone with the Takano Tomitake and Shion in the ritual storehouse. He had other plans that he had thought of way before Watanagashi, which would be the murder of Teppei. He wouldn't be dealing with that sort of stuff, so I don't think it would be possible to combine the events of Chapter 2 and 3. I don't know. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi-kun. Although, when it came to lying and acting, Satoshi-kun was about the same level. Satoshi-kun was at about the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for at least trying to tell a lie. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく昨べ、シオンに会わなかった？
This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed, as I'd expected.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、会ったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
I'd asked him that yesterday. The real Mion asked him, for sure. He must have meant that Mion Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn it, Mion. When I asked her, she said she'd had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse. Shit.
そうだっけ？また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
どうして会ったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up at me.
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんとシオンとケイちゃんをね、悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, and then left. I returned to the Sasaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. He was a housekeeper. Her name was Shimiko-san. The hack had a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house.
Mion-chan! 本当によかった。
ありゃ、シミコさん。何かご用で？
Today was her turn to come up, help out at the house. She'd arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She called, but there was no answer. So he had been just standing there, not knowing what to do.
バッチャですね。綿流しの祭りで面白くないことがあったみたいで、昨べからすごく機嫌が悪いんです。
Yeah, I know, right? She is in a very, really bad mood. It's like she is now in her own cave right now, just doing her own thing.
そうですか。
And by doing her own thing, I mean being dead. Shimiko-san tried to remember if she had done something wrong.
別に無視してるんじゃなくて、寝込んでるだけなんです。
Yeah, sleeping. And something tells me that she's going to be sleeping for quite a while.
昨べ、だいぶ遅くまでカリカリしてたから、多分まだ起きられないんじゃないでしょうか。知ってるでしょ？一度機嫌を損ねたバッチャが、どれだけの期間機嫌が悪いかを。
そうですね。困りましたね。
Man, I really want to go to the hospital right now. I want to go to Ariakey clinic, like right now. Now, granted, like, obviously the story is not going to allow me right now. I can't say that I have free will to do whatever I want, given the fictional rules and setting and all that of me not being allowed to go beyond the character's perspective unless the story chooses to do so. But nonetheless, I really want to go there. Can I just bend the rules right over here? Let me just go to the clinic. Come on. Ah, damn it. Fictional rubber band. Like, not allowing me to go past the narrative of the story to do whatever I want.
しばらく顔を見せない方がいいと思います。シミコさんに悪気がなくても、バッチャは何かと咎めてくるに違いありませんから。こういう時は私に任せといてください。
そうですか？それは助かりますけど。
シミコさん、申し訳ないんですけど、他のお手伝いさんにもしばらく来なくていいと伝えてもらっていいですか？バッチャの機嫌が治ったらこっそり電話しますから。しばらくそっとしてあげてください。
Shimiko-san bowed and then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m. and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There would also be a staff meeting at the Food Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the three families, their relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all 40 figures in Hinamizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hack. It was sick. I'd worry about the rest when I got there. People should notice that Mion and the hack were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry, as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more, and then fell asleep as if someone switched me off.
もしもし。
あ、園崎の妹の方です。こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
Alright. Phone call with Keiichi.
シオンか。ミオンと同じで、今日は寝不足で寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
え？ひょっとしてお姉、早退ですか？お姉らしい。
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way you would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing two roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death. Maybe I was getting used to this situation. Or maybe my senses had gone numb.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか。ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
We decided to meet in Hinamiya. It wasn't easy to get there from Hinamizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. She has a motorcycle? The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle. I tried to get to Okinomiya before he did. She was she must have had quite some young years as part of a biker, like motorcycle gang or something like that. Maybe she was part of the Yakuza as well. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster, after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either.
ミオンと違って、シオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
お姉を標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
ん？少しフラフラしてないか？お前も昨べは寝不足だろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、お姉より容量いいですから。
おいおい。学校をずる休みするのを容量いいとは言わないと思うぞ。
じゃあ先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ、頼むよ。おふくろの借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで。図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. Yeah. The meeting is soon, like the emergency meeting, that is. I was going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okinomiya. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Hinamizawa on his bicycle. I'd had to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it on time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late. But since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. Yeah, let's speed through this a little bit. This was the Shishibone Public Library. It was sizable, filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. Except for the cases where you aren't alone and you have like Satoshi like in the corner just looking at you menacingly while he's drinking his own coffee and going on, domo domo, Maebara-san. Or Maebara-kun, was it? I don't know. This was where I first met Takano-san. I didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow. But then I remembered that she was already dead. Gee, if only she wasn't dead. Like, for once I would like to have like a chapter where I would have her like, you know, live and, you know, learn stuff from her some more. Well, actually, we're not gonna learn jack shit from her because she's such a mysterious little bitch, so I don't know. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so you had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. Are you sure you're not gonna allow me to go to the hospital? Like, maybe a little bit? No? Nah, probably not. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked through the automated door. Unlike outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages. Keiichi walked up to the return table after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things, and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him to the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our love story. This was exactly where Takano-san told me about the true history of Hinamizawa a year ago. I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony? Well, let's just say that God sure has some sense of humor, talking from experience. He has quite the dark humor, for sure.
例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえばエンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか?
I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that since Keiichi came from the city, there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire family. Not family, area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling towards him.
特に金融・不動産関係は強いですね。あと、商工会議所の役員も何割かは園崎姓かその親類がついてます。
Yep.
沖宮一帯を評伝に市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。沖宮の町中に親類が経営する店があって、特に金融・不動産に強い。しかもその上、商工会議所の役員の何割かが親類で、しかも地元選出の議員までいて。
Maybe there are some who work for the government? Maybe somewhere in Tokyo? Some of the highest well-known political figures in Japan, maybe? Maybe someone who works for the military as well? The medical institution? Something! Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all of that about the Sonozaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly. The way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little bit by little, too. There should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Mio Sonozaki, the successor. Then I changed the subject, like Takano-san did with me. I'd go on to talk about the curse for Yashiro-sama, and then a series of mysterious deaths.
ひょっとして園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
Hey, speaking of Oishi in the corner drinking his coffee and going all the domo domo, Maebara-san.
すごいんです。
A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into our conversation. Oishi? Why was he here?
どうも。こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。おいさん。
What timing? It can be coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi? Or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Oishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think it could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Oishi need to talk to Keiichi? It must be about the incident from yesterday. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Oishi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Yeah, that's true. Why did he have to show up at a time like this?
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
いや、そんな、二股だなんて。
Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi-kun. That aside, this wasn't going well. Oishi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Oishi took a quick glance at me. Oh, he's giving the stare. His eyes told me something. He was purposely talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave or he'd continue on to something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that way. You can tell everything from those eyes. Damn, that big fat weasel.
あ、ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私もうバイトの時間なんです。
え、あ、そうなのか?
I realized that I wouldn't achieve anything like this, even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Oishi looked at me and grinned. Damn it. He won today, but I will win next time.
そういえば、今日はシオン、何か話があるんじゃなかったのか? なんなら。
うん、また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ、今夜電話しますので、その時に。じゃあ。
And we're just gonna leave Keiichi alone with the Oishi, just like last time. I guess that gives you a reason for why decide to run away like that and leave us behind with Oishi. I guess it's because she didn't really have any she wasn't feeling safe there, that's for sure. She really needed to get out of there because of Oishi. The Axe motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine's assembly hall. Yeah, the assembly hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if it were just celebrating the end of Watanagashi. But today's staff meeting was likely going to be as strained as the Sonozaki family councils. Yes, this staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Hinamizawa. I can't let my guard down, even for a moment. Alright. We might be getting some true objective facts from this.